Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron, I hope you're having a great day or night in Jesus. We're going to look today at what role did climate have in preserving biblical manuscripts? Because whether it was papyri, vellum, whatever, they tended to be preserved better in arid, dry climates, obviously, than in moist, wet climate. So you're going to find many of them in semi-arid desert areas like Egypt. So let's get started here. So the preoccupation with the age of manuscripts leads to the arbitrary prejudice against readings of locations which did not have favorable climates for preservation, such as Byzantium. Byzantine manuscripts had the disadvantage of being produced in areas which were not as suitable for manuscript preservation as Egypt. So remember, Origen's already said in 200 AD his manuscripts are corrupt. Looking at the two maps, it's got a map juxtaposed above, reveals that Egypt alone had a hyper-arid climate of all the early centers of Christianity. Being alone and having a hyper-arid climate, Egypt had the most favorable climate for manuscript preservation. Only one manuscript, Uncial 02102, from before the 5th century survived to this day outside of Egypt. Thus, to base a critical New Testament text on the oldest extant manuscripts is merely to base a critical text on the manuscripts of the church that happen to have corrupt manuscripts according to their own witnesses and a climate for preservation. But it does not mean the Bible wasn't being used all around the world in various languages, because it most certainly was. We know this from readings from early church writers. Moreover, there's no logical or spiritual nexus between being a recipient of the purest Greek New Testament text and being a resident in a location with the most favorable climate of preservation. Those blindly preferring the oldest extant manuscripts for the composition of the New Testament text is illogical practice does not ensure the composition of the purest text. So persecutions and Bible burnings, the 10 imperial persecutions, Nero, Domitian, Trajan, Marcus Aurelius, Septimus Severus, Decius, Valerian, Maximus the Thracian, Aurelian, Diocletian, and Galerius. So one of the most ruthless of these persecutions was that of Diocletian in the early 4th century. Eusebius of the same time period recorded that many scriptures were burned during the Diocletian persecution. And it was the 19th year of the reign of Diocletian in the month of Dystrus, called March by the Romans, when the feast of the Savior's Passion was near at hand. The royal edicts were published everywhere, commanding that churches be leveled to the ground and scriptures be destroyed by fire, and ordering that those who held places of honor be degraded, and that household servants, if they persist in the profession of Christianity, be deprived from freedom. So this was another destruction of manuscripts that weren't in Egypt per se. Many Christians could not withstand the persecution, handed over their scriptures to the authorities to be publicly burned. There's even a term for these Christians who handed over the manuscripts: traditors. Diocletian destroyed the Christian scriptures which were stored in the churches. These pre-4th century manuscripts were undoubtedly the best and most approved manuscripts, since they were the ones kept in houses of worship and Christians' houses for learning and reading. Since so many approved manuscripts were deliberately destroyed, the body of extant evidence most likely does not reflect the text which the early church upheld to be correct. So God bless. Thanks for being with us. Join us daily. Share with your friends, family, church family. Subscribe. Leave a 5-star review. No, that's our Biblical Archaeology podcast. Leave a thumbs up, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.